Auschwitz. The name is associated with mass extermination, inhumane cruelty, and the suffering of hundreds of thousands of innocent people. But alongside the gas chambers and crematoria, other lesser known, yet no less cynical and brutal, phenomena existed in the Nazi concentration camps. Today, we'll talk about one of these secret and shameful places, the Auschwitz Brothel. The brothel was established in 1941 by order of Heinrich Himmler in Auschwitz I, Block 24. It was officially called Sonderbauten, or Special Buildings. In this video, we'll expose not only the Nazis' cynical view of people as objects, but also the stories of the women who were forced to work there and the men who had to visit this place. The Nazi authorities in the concentration camps sought to maintain at least a minimal level of productivity among the prisoners and create tension between them. They needed cheap and effective labor, so a motivation system was devised. The brothel, although such a place sounded paradoxal, was to become a prize for privileged prisoners, camp supervisors or block elders. This was part of a system where prisoners were divided into the privileged and the unprivileged. There was one important restriction: Jews were forbidden from entering because they were considered racially hostile elements. It was important for the Nazis to create the illusion that good behavior and loyalty were rewarded, even if the reward was embedded in an inhumane system of coercion. The Auschwitz Brothel operated in Block 24, which was separated from the other barracks and had a special guard post. The exterior could have looked neat and even aesthetic, with flower pots and a bright interior. The Nazis tried to create the impression that this was a normal place, like an oasis of rest in a concentration camp. But this was just another example of cynicism. Inside, the living conditions of the women who were forced to work there were tragic. They lived separately from other prisoners and were given better food and sanitary conditions, but for this, they had to pay a huge price. They were forcibly exploited and suffered constant psychological and physical abuse. Nazi doctors and guards constantly monitored the women's health and productivity, and any refusal to cooperate meant punishment or death. Most of the women who worked in the brothel were young, some even minors. They were forced to work out of fear, punishment, or the desire to survive. Their stories testify to the great trauma and shame they had to endure. Some of them were later unable to return to normal life due to deep psychological trauma and feelings of shame. The Nazis' expectations that the brothel would increase work productivity were essentially unfulfilled. For most prisoners, a ticket to the brothel was too expensive, and the salary system was inaccessible. The men who were forced to visit Block 24 were mostly privileged prisoners. However, this doesn't mean they felt happy or satisfied. For many of them, it was just another reminder of the loss of their freedom and dignity. The men's visits to the brothel were nothing more than a part of the Nazi system designed to create even greater division among the prisoners and break their spirit. One of those women was Anna, a 22-year-old former Auschwitz prisoner. She was brought to Auschwitz in 1943 from the Ravensbrück concentration camp. Initially, she worked in one of the industrial enterprises, but after a few months, she was transferred to the brothel. Although Anna received better nutrition and could shower daily, she felt she had lost everything. She couldn't communicate with other prisoners and lived in constant fear. She was constantly reminded that if she didn't fulfill her duties, she would be transferred back to the regular prisoner's place. Anna survived Auschwitz and tried to build a new life after the war, but her experience left a deep scar on her life. The Auschwitz brothel is not only a sad and shameful part of history, it's a stark example of how the Nazi regime cynically used people as tools to achieve its goals, regardless of any morality, humanity, or dignity. The history of Block 24 is a reminder that even under the most inhumane conditions, people still try to survive, and regimes, even the most brutal ones, try to create the illusion that everything is under control and normal. It's our duty to remember these stories so that such a tragedy never happens again, and so we understand the danger inherent in hatred, racism, and violations of human dignity. This is the tragic, cynical story of the Auschwitz Brothel. If you want more similar content, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.